Hello, kids. It's me, Charlie the Chicken.
Hello, Charlie. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Mrs. P. What story do you have for us today?
Ooh, today's parable is a good one. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, you say that every week.
I know, but this is a really good one, and I really like the lesson we can learn from it. The story is called The Parable of the Feast.
A feast, eh? Like with lots of food and special treats?
Yep, just like that. Let's begin. One day, Jesus was invited to have a meal at the home of an important Pharisee.
What's a Pharisee?
Well, he's kind of like a guy who works in the church and knows lots about God.
Oh, you mean like Pastor Jeff?
Well, kind of, but Pharisees were also kind of like policemen. They went around making sure that everyone followed God's laws, and they liked to catch people who weren't doing what the Pharisees wanted them to.
Oh, I get it. Pastor Jeff doesn't do that.
You're right. Can I continue now?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Jesus was invited to a meal at the house of a Pharisee. Lots of rich people were there, watching Jesus and listening to him. That's when he told this story. A certain man prepared a great feast with lots of great food for everyone to eat. When everything was ready, he sent his servant to invite his friends to come. But everyone who was invited to the feast made excuses about why they couldn't come. The first person said, "I can't come because I've bought a piece of land and I need to go and see it."
Yeah, right. Who buys a piece of land without looking at it?
I know. The next person who was invited to the feasts replied, "I've bought 5 oxen and I need to see if they work as a team plowing, so I can't come."
What? You mean he couldn't wait to do that for a few hours?
I know. Another person who was invited said he couldn't come to the feast because he'd just gotten married.
Maybe he could have brought his wife along to the feast too.
I know. Anyway, people were just too busy. The man who was giving the feast was very disappointed and said, "Go into the streets and lanes of the city and invite the poor, those with disabilities, and the blind to my feast. Encourage them all to come. There's plenty of room for everyone." And that's exactly what his servant did. And the poor, the people with disabilities, the blind, everyone who was out in the streets came to the feast.
Woohoo! I love that! That guy planning the feast must have been a great guy, inviting anyone and everyone to come to his feast.
I know, Charlie, and that's the lesson that Jesus wanted to teach the Pharisee and all of his friends. The Bible tells us it is important to take care of anyone who is poor or weak or helpless. We must show them God's love and care for them in any way we can. When we do that, we will be blessed by God. So that's our lesson. Show God's love and care to the poor or weak or helpless. Do you think you can do that, Charlie?
Absolutely. Pastor Jeff and I are on it. I know a lot of poor, helpless chickens after all.
That's great. And here are some verses where Jesus talks about this exactly. "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Matthew 25, verses 35 to 36, and verse 40. You know what, Charlie? That's the end of our parables for the summer. Thanks for joining me every week and helping out.
No problem, Mrs. P. It was great fun. And now that Pastor Jeff and I are buddies, you might see me around more often. See you later.
Bye, Charlie.